Not yet. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Innovate 2026. I'm just going to do a quick check. Can you all hear me? My mic might be muted. Can they hear me in the chat? If you can hear me in the chat, let me know, please. It's saying I am muted. All right. Can you hear me now? We are in Focus Forward Studios, and so, yes, I see yes, 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 yes. Is there an echo? I just need to make sure that we're good. No echo, we're loud and clear. Awesome. Hi, my name is Ife Badejo. Of course, we're in Focus Forward, and the media team has made sure that we have proper audio and video. And I am very excited to be here with all of you tonight. Tonight, I have the distinct honor of having a wonderful guest that you can see on screen with me. And also, by the way, bon dia, bon noche, is bon noche right now, right? Yeah. It's bon noche. Goede avond, good evening, bonsoir. Thank you so much, Soshina, for that. Wherever you are streaming in the world, thank you so much for being here. First things first, if your mics are not muted, we please invite you to mute your mics. This part of Innovate 2026 is also being streamed on our YouTube and our Facebook because we really wanted to make sure that we got this out as much as possible. But don't worry, for those of you that are with us in Zoom, you get to do personal Q&A with Mr. Badejo himself. I'll introduce him in a second. And also, we will do a deep dive on AI and what you need to know for AI in 2026 moving forward. So, that being said, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Innovate 2026. My name is Ife Badejo. If this is the first time that we are connected, I am the founder of Islandpreneur International and AI Islands, and I am passionate about helping our island-based businesses, entrepreneurs, and executives to progress in paradise, i.e., I help people innovate, scale, and thrive right here from the beautiful islands of the Caribbean and, quite honestly, around the world. We are excited to be part of the first and the inaugural Caribbean Tech Week. And so big shout out to Ingrid Riley from Silicon Caribe from Jamaica. Thank you so much for leading this initiative and doing the amazing work that you're doing and bringing together a regional network of thought leaders and entrepreneurs and policymakers, all for building a digital culture within the region. So thank you so much for that. And we are honored to be representing Sint Maarten. You know I had to say it like that because I always say it like that, because we are really proud to rep our island wherever we are. So Innovate 2026 is special not just because it is 2026, it is a reset year. It is also special because it is part of Caribbean Tech Week. And so we are part of a larger discussion throughout the region with our brothers and sisters talking about digital entrepreneurship and everything else. So we're really excited about that. I see you in the room. I see that you're repping Sint Maarten and wherever island you're from. I know we have Dushi Corso in here as well. So thank you so much for repping our island. That being said, I wanted to go ahead and do that introduction, and then now I have another special introduction. So I am with someone that I happen to know very, very, very well, and for a very, very long time. In fact, I know him his entire life. I'll just leave that there. But he is none other than Mr. Femi Badejo. Mr. Badejo is the head of the ICT department for the Government of Sint Maarten. And in the past 7 to 9 years, almost, I think it is already, he has been diligently and pivotal and instrumental in leading the charge for the digital transformation for the island of Sint Maarten. He has more than 25 years already in this business. And so we are very excited that he decided to be here. If you know Femi, as many people call him, because he likes first name basis. If you know Femi, he is definitely not a front forward guy. He prefers to be in the background, do his business, go home to his family. He has a beautiful family and continue pushing. That is his style. But at this particular phase of the digital transformation project, he needs to get louder, and his team is getting louder on what the digital transformation means for Sint Maarten. And so we're going to talk about that, as well as the role of AI. And then after we have that conversation, there'll be a Q&A, and also, and then we rock and roll. So if you're here with us, go ahead and just press 1 in the chat or on social media. If you're streaming in from YouTube or Facebook, we just want to make sure that you're here with us this evening. Go ahead and click 1. I see some ones coming up. All right, we're here. Okay, good. Awesome. So, that being said, Mr. Badejo.
Miss Badejo.
Femi, how are you?
I'm okay, Ife. How are you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to Innovate 2026.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And, when you gave me the invite, I was already telling you the time that we have, allotted to this, it might not be enough time to go over everything.
We'll just have you back.
But I'm excited to be here, and I'll be excited to come back at any point in time. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I'm going to just dive right in, right? This is the first event for Islandpreneur for 2026, first public-facing event, that is. We're very excited about the digital transformation and about AI. We are loud about it. But let's dive right in. Are we ready for AI?
That's a loaded question.
I know. That's why I said I'll start there.
You jumped right into it.
I jumped right in.
I think everyone is at a different level of maturity to determine whether or not they're ready for AI. So, Do I think that, for example, government is ready for AI? No, I think we have a few key, what I call building blocks to establish, to have in place before we can really start to embrace AI for what it's meant to do, which is, to help make processes more efficient, to help reduce, processing time, et cetera, to just make things quicker and faster. And it's an enabler at the end of the day. But if we're not fully digitized and we have a lot of, we're a heavy paper-based organization, for example, then what are we actually using AI for? If you don't have clearly identified use cases that you would actually really use AI in the way it's meant to be used, then what are we, So I think from a productivity standpoint, as an individual, of course, people use ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, et cetera, and that can help you from a productivity standpoint. But within the organization, within your systems, within your processes, I think, at least for government, we still have key things to do before we're really there to embrace it in that standpoint. So, but that is our maturity level. Another small, medium enterprise might actually be much more ahead, you know what I mean? So, government is, of course, traditionally more paper-based. But if you started up a business or if you're already a medium enterprise and you've already leapfrogged certain things where, you're not paper-based and you have a lot of things, data captured digitally and so forth, then you're at a higher maturity level that you can start to say, yeah, I'm ready to embrace AI. So I think it's a bit of a loaded question because I think everyone is at a different point in their maturity level to say whether or not they can embrace it.
So let's go there because there's a couple of things. One, you said things like leapfrog, and I know what you mean by that, but I happen to learn on the way. A lot of people are hearing leapfrog and we're like, but where we leap into and where's the frog? You know what I mean? So let's break it down for those that don't know. What do you mean by leapfrog? That's number one. And number two, if we are not there yet for AI, then the follow-up question to that is, where are we when it comes to digital transformation?
Okay, so when I say leapfrog, for example, in our case with Government of Sint Maarten, like I said, there's still certain fundamental things that needs to be in place, and there's we're moving quite rapidly, and I'll touch on the where we are in that whole transformation. But another institution might have actually decided to skip some of the steps because they don't need those steps. They don't need to go through digitizing records because they started off already, in a sort of a digital format. So at that point, they've already leapfrogged, some of the starting points that you might have had to, or some of the levels that you might have had to go through. So let's say if it was on a scale from 1 to 5, and government might be on, on the second point. We still operate a little bit in silos. We don't have a lot of things integrated just yet.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I'm going to touch on later. But someone else might already say, you know what, we don't need to wait for that because we already have things integrated and we can already go from where we think we are at a early stage to maybe level 4, for example. So it's really about the maturity level that you're at, and certain steps that you can say, well, we don't really need to do that because we, either we don't need it or we've already passed that step and so forth, so we can jump ahead. And that's what leapfrog means. So in the case with, I'll give you a very clear example. A country like Estonia had to go through years and years and years of development and of their own transformation and so forth for different reasons, how they're situated, relationship with Russia, et cetera, et cetera. But an island like Sint Maarten might not have to go through the same sort of steps that they've gone through, and you can learn from those things and say, okay, well, we can advance ahead of that and not have to go through the same sort of steps along the way that they went through. So, by leapfrogging, you're looking at what you can learn, lessons learned from other areas, from other institutions, other countries, et cetera, and then say, okay, well, we can advance ahead of that and not have to go through the same sort of pain points that they might have had to go through.
So where are we when it comes to the digital transformation?
So We've transitioned a bit into a heavy implementation phase. So we have this digital transformation project that's been ongoing for some years now. It started off, of course, with assessing the environment, assessing where we are, outlining a clear strategy and a vision for not just government, but the island on a whole. And then from there, laying out this sort of roadmap. And then, of course, we have to go through a bit of a procurement phase because there's different vendors that need to support us along the way. You know, we have some capacity constraints as well. So we enlist the support of different subject matter experts to help us along the journey. But we've transitioned now into more of a implementation phase. So at this point now, you know, it's full steam ahead. You have a lot of things that will be coming online within the next year. So, for example, we are going to be introducing a digital ID solution for, you know, the government, but it's for Sint Maarten. And the hope is that, you know, obviously we'll start off with like government services and a proof of concept there. But the idea is to enlist or to get the support from the private sector, from the banking association, from, you know, the insurance companies, et cetera, that they could also use it, from the utilities company, from the telcos, because this can simplify. You're going fast. It will simplify what we call, of course, the know your customer, the KYC process. And this is something that we hope to have ready. We're actually going through the procurement process for that, but we hope to have it ready by early part of next year. So, you know, there's a few things that are in the pipeline.
So in 2027, we are looking at having a digital ID.
Yes.
So for those of us that lived in the Netherlands, we might be familiar with DigiID.
Yes, DigiD, yeah.
DigiD. For those that have no idea what you're talking about, and I could hear some people in their heads going like, are we going to get chipped? Right? Yeah. Like, so for those that don't know what you're talking about, what do you mean by a digital ID? And can you give a practical use case of what that looks like?
Okay. So to a large extent, we've already been, a lot of people have been using a digital ID and maybe not even know about it. A digital ID just pretty much allows you to authenticate yourself or prove you are who you say you are in a digital format. So picture it as you want to apply for a building permit, for example. Currently, you would have to come in person, you know, you fill in these forms, you have to provide proof of identification, et cetera, to start the whole process. With the digital ID, and once that service becomes online, then you'll be able to go to our website, log in with your digital ID, prove that you are who you say you are by logging in with this digital ID, and then securely interact with government or other institutions in the future without having to upload any proof of documents, without having to provide a detailed registration form or anything like that. So
in other words, you don't have to go to 500 different departments.
That's part of the process.
Okay, good.
Yes, exactly. The whole goal of transformation, I mean, you know, when we talk about modernizing and doing digital transformation, is not just because, we want to throw technology at everything and so forth. That it has to have a meaning behind of it. So for us, the whole idea is to make life more efficient, you know, make life more resilient for everyone, and just speed up the process at the end of the day, and also reduce the administrative burden on the government side of things. Because, of course, again, like I mentioned, we're heavy paper-based. So rather than now having to take this paperwork, type in, do a lot of data entry, scan in the documents, et cetera, all of this stuff is received online. It's more of checking to see if everything lines up and, you know, proceed with the process.
Okay, so soon there'll be digital IDs. The whole point is to ensure that we are, and guys, we know that it's pouring outside, so we're very happy to be doing this online. So thank you so much for tuning in the comfort of wherever you are, but please be safe on the road because it has been a challenge today. And so we have the digital ID that is coming. Many people are very still skeptical that government is going through a digital transformation process. Can you speak to maybe one or two quick wins that has already happened? And then also, what are some of the challenges in this whole digital transformation?
So I'm not sure if I'll call it quick wins, but some of the things that we've already been able to do in the past couple of years, for example, is introducing digital payment or online payment. So in the past,
i.e. road tax?
Yes, exactly it.
That's due now, I think?
Yes, exactly it. And there is a number of people that have already been submitting their application or paying for their road tax online currently, and that number keeps growing and so forth at the end of the day. And I think it simplified quite a bit of that process, because before you'd have to, when it gets hectic, when it's about to be due, there's this long line that goes around the government building and so forth for people that just want to go and pay for it.
There were many entrepreneurs that got into business of just waiting in line. They got paid to wait in line for the number plate.
And I'm not trying to take any bread out of anyone's mouth at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, we're trying to simplify the process for everyone and make it much more efficient and quicker for them to interact. So we did introduce this some years back. It is, heavily being used at the end of the day. And of course, before, when we talked about digital payment and so forth, a lot of people just reference making an online bank transfer. But then there was still this process of having to reconcile it to, in the back end, basically to make sure that you're paying for this particular product and so forth. And that by itself could take some time. So it wasn't fully efficient for people to do these bank transfers. But now that you can pay, with a credit or debit card online, it's instant. You get your receipt instantly, and then you can just go and pick up your QR code, actually, at the end of the day. So that was one relatively quick win. And then we've put quite a bit of services online as it is right now. So right now we have, I think, about 18 services that you can apply for online, ranging from civil registry services to residence permits, etc. So there's quite a few things that we've already done in the past, but now we're starting to introduce certain building blocks that were still missing. And one of those things, for example, is what we call this data exchange system. So before, we operated in a way where you might apply for something online, but then there's still a lot of manual processes or manual checks that needs to be done. With this data exchange system, we're actually taking what we call key registries, key systems. So, for example, civil registry is a very key system, because that is where everyone, as a person that's registered in Sint Maarten, lives.
Absolutely.
Then you have Chamber of Commerce for all the businesses.
For all the
businesses. That's the business registry. Then you have cadastre for the land registry. So with the data exchange system that we're going to introduce, we're actually trying to connect these systems together. So you can imagine if you're starting up a business and you go to Chamber of Commerce, rather than having to provide them this detailed registration form, now they can validate your information in civil registry because of this data exchange platform.
So now everyone becomes a one-stop shop.
Exactly. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
How close are we to this goal?
We're working on it. We're working on it. It is a process. It's a lot of rethinking processes.
Yes.
It's actually a lot of managing expectations and managing people, because there is already a culture of working in this, in our environment, in my kingdom type of thing, or whatever. And so you also have to kind of change the culture and work with each other and collaborate a lot more and so forth. So I'm happy to say that we had a lot of collaboration with the different stakeholders. We have a good relationship with Chamber of Commerce, with cadastre, with civil registry, with the tax office, etc. So it has helped push things forward tremendously from where we were before.
What would you say is the driving force of that collaboration? Because, like you said, there was all of these kingdoms, right? I like to say it like this. As island people, we tend to think in islands and not in continents. So we only go as far as and not beyond that. And then there's a threat almost as, okay, why do you want this information, right? Because we're also a small community. And so information has been used equally against us in the past, right? So what is the driving force of this collaboration, and how are you dealing with that innate fear of why people want all of this information for?
Yeah, I think part of it is, in the past, there was maybe a little bit of a lack of understanding when we talk about data exchange. So if you don't understand it, immediately there's a fear, right? You hear exchange of information, exchange of data, and then the question comes up: why should I be sharing my information with you? You know, some people even may have misunderstood legislation in the past and may have used that as a way to say, well, we can't share information with you. But when you speak of sharing information, it's not that we're saying, oh, we're just going to open up everything for everyone to see everything at the same time. There's still things like data privacy and data protection that needs to be taken into consideration. And data sharing by itself could mean a lot of things. It could mean, just as I mentioned before, an example of verifying or validating whether or not someone exists in the civil registry. So you're not pulling that information. You're not seeing everything there. You're just trying to see, does this person exist and is registered on this address? Yes or no.
Yeah.
So what you get back is a yes or no.
Yeah.
And that's it. So by breaking that down and having people understand a bit more of what it really means and what it can be, and how it can also contribute to the efficiency for them as well at the end of the day, because you know a lot of people are in the "what's in it for me" mindset as well.
It's the only radio station everybody listens to, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Exactly it. And I mean, at the end of the day, the approach I've taken, for example, is sort of a two-sided approach. Obviously, it's what's in it for me, for the different stakeholders. So helping them understand this actually simplifies their process. It will increase, efficiency and processing time and reduce administrative burden on their end. So that's a very big win for them. At the end of the day, it increases their reputation as well. And then on the other side, we're all residents. We all live on the island. We all have faced some of the same challenges of having to go from one room to the next room, one department to the next department, and so forth.
And also being told different things at each department concerning the same exact thing. Eh?
Absolutely. So
the information is pliable. It moves from one person to the next. It depends on who you get.
It depends on who you get, at what time you get it, in what type of way you get it, etc. So, I mean, because we've had all these pain points just as residents of the island, I think a lot of people are also a bit tired of continuing to go through the same thing. I mean, it's this repetition of the same sort of processes all the time. So one of the principles that we try to adhere to now, and as we're embracing this transformation, is what we call this once only principle. So if government has received information from you already, we're not supposed to. I mean, it still happens now. There's still a transformation. But we're not supposed to ask the same information from you a second time, no matter which other department, because we already have that information from you. So when you start to think in this type of mindset, you realize how easy the process can be if you start to really embrace, key principles that can help drive efficiency moving forward.
So we had 65 people register, and we have about half of them online with us right now. And this is especially a leadership type of a conversation, hence why I wanted to have a conversation with you. In that vein, there has been some discussion in the chat already.
I didn't want to stir up anything.
There's been some discussion in the chat already. So we have a comment, a question that was being asked earlier. What will it take collectively in terms of infrastructure and capacity, regulatory frameworks to be ready for AI, I'm guessing is the question.
Very good question, actually. So we have some gaps, actually, even from a legislative perspective. And one of the things that this project, this program, the Digital Government Transformation Program is delivering is new legislation, in fact, to try to close the gap, to be able to create this enabling environment that could create this future state where we're really ready to embrace AI. So some of those key points, in fact, actually next week we have a legal firm, subject matter experts on cybersecurity, data protection, and open data. And these are key legislative pieces that needs to be in place, in my opinion, to really embrace AI, because without it, you do leave room for misuse.
Yep.
You do leave room for data to be, used in other areas or in the wrong way, or captured in the wrong way, stored in the wrong way, and so forth. So if you're not thinking about this enabling environment, of course, then you're prone to.
Yeah, and to your point, there is already a growing concern about, and guys, you all know I love me some AI, but I'm not blind to the aspects of it that we need to be concerned about. There's a lot of concern about, with the deep fakes, the level of scams and things of that nature. Using people's likeness, image, voice, that can be done right now to a very high degree.
Yes.
And if you don't have a trained eye now, you won't be able to know the difference. But every day it's getting sharper and better and harder to tell the difference, right? So those are some of the things that have been asked before. This group here, they waiting for
for
the Q&A.
There's no Q&A.
There's no Q&A. We're just going to have a conversation.
Let's go.
So one of the things that was also indicated by one of the people in the room, I'm going to keep the names anonymous because we are doing this public, but when we close this, then we can actually speak to whoever's in the room.
Sure.
There was a response to that initial question. That is a good question. The groundwork law needs to be placed ahead of deployment, especially as it relates to GDPR rules for each department and sector. The personal information needed to open a bank account is not the same as opening for a GB, I guess, is what they were trying to communicate. Do we adhere to GDPR rules? And if so, what does that look like? How should we be doing that? And can you just explain very briefly what does that mean? Because I know that we have a very wide spectrum of those that are watching. We have the beginners who's like, who is G and who is D and who is P to the R? And then we have those who in advance is like, hey guys, y'all should be knowing this already. So can you just give a very brief description for what that means?
Yeah, so basically it is the data protection regulation that was established in the European Union to pretty much address the gaps that they saw at the time with handling personal information, private information of people, citizens, residents, etc. So how do you treat personal identifiable information and make sure that it's not misused or sold, for example, which has happened in the past. And then also your information that you didn't know was being used, in other institutions or other businesses and so forth, were actually being used, and all of a sudden you've received as just a quick example, marketing information and so forth that you never even came close to signing up for. So.
And then it's so hard to get rid of them after that.
But I mean, it goes as far as just persons misusing their authority, for example, that they have to be able to see information and just pulling up your information when it was not part of the process, for example, that was captured for that information. So. Sint Maarten is unique in the fact that, of course, and Dutch Sint Maarten in particular, is unique in the fact that we fall under the kingdom, but we don't necessarily directly fall under the EU legislation and so forth. So, but if you are handling information from an EU citizen, then you do need to adhere to GDPR. So that could be, for example, if you have a customer from the French side.
Yeah.
Then you do need to adhere to GDPR.
So let's talk about it. We're going to put a pin in it.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it.
Let's go. I told you, we
I
don't know if we have enough time.
I don't know either, but we're going to talk about it.
Tell me.
So, then the best practice is First of all, it means that when you're doing anything online, you need to gather as much information about who and where your customer is, because you may be inadvertently violating those
Absolutely
kinds
correct.
of laws and rules.
Absolutely
right?
correct. Yeah.
So that's number one. And then number two, which kind of goes hand in hand, is that the best practice is just to practice that any which way. Because in the event that you don't know, you're still kind of coloring within the lines, if that makes sense.
Correct.
So if you're having a client or even dealing with a customer or just even marketing to speaking to someone in any EU territory, then GDPR rules apply no matter what.
Well, if you're capturing their personal information for sure, then it applies. So, for example, if you're asking someone to sign up and you're going to sell them flowers, for example, and that person is coming from the French side, and you're capturing first name, last name, address. If you ask even for a copy of their ID, for example,
you want to put them on your mailing list.
This is actually personal information, of course, and then you do need to adhere to GDPR.
Okay.
So one thing is you need to clearly identify make it clear to them what the information is going to be used for. What information you're capturing and what information is going to be used. And then for how long it's going to be stored as well. So, for example, if you're capturing a copy of an ID, for example, and so forth, you do need to go through a process. This is legislated, of course, in GDPR, where, you might need to store it for a period of time, or you might need to immediately destroy it, for example. And it also depends on the business and, what exactly you're capturing at the end of the day. So, of course, there's a lot of details behind of it, so we're not going to go down the rabbit hole, but the key thing is if you are operating where you're capturing sensitive information or just personal information, and it's of someone that is coming from a EU, state or is an EU citizen, that you have to try to adhere to GDPR as much as possible. Now, we also do have our own privacy data protection legislation. It is a bit outdated. It was inherited from the Netherlands way back when, and one of the things that we're going through right now is reviewing that and trying to modernize it and keep it more in line with best practices around the world. We're not trying to copy GDPR because I think GDPR is very, very heavy. If you look at some of the fines that they introduce if you break the law, pretty much. It is very, very massive fines, and it is very strict at the end of the day. And it applies, across a lot of different sectors and different businesses and so forth and different institutions. So we want to kind of make sure that because we're a small island, we have a different culture than Europe, et cetera, that we sort of tailor a lot of these things to our environment, our culture, our island at the end of the day. So the key thing for us is to make sure that we have certain things in place to govern how you handle personal information, but that it allows room that we're not so strict like GDPR is in Europe.
Okay, so guys, if you were following us on Zoom, for whatever reason, we just got outed and now we're back on. So sorry for that. I'm going to try and remember the different things that were in the chat. So there was a question coming from someone asking about if there was going to be biometrics going to be used for the digital ID.
Very good question, actually.
I'm telling you, this is a room of leaders.
Oh, very, very good
We
question.
got leaders in the house. They know what they want. They understand this. I'm very happy about this kind of discussion. But yeah.
The potential for it is there, that biometrics may be captured upon applying for the digital ID, but it will only be captured during the application process, actually. So that's how we outlined it in what we see as one of the functional requirements. that during the application process, biometrics may be captured, but then it won't be stored and so forth. So it's just to verify you and prove that you are who you say you are during that application process, and then it's terminated. As far as biometrics are concerned for signing in, because for example, if you have a bank account with a lot of the banks on the island, you would know that with the bank app, you could sign in with your biometrics as well, but that is not stored on their system. That's stored on your phone. And so the same sort of idea is what we're going to introduce in the future, where if you use your biometrics to log in, it will be something stored on your device and doesn't leave your possession at the end of the day. So we will be introducing that for authentication in the future, but at the end of the day, there will be no biometrics actually captured or stored on our side in government, at least not for the digital ID.
Okay. And so another question that I remember from the chat, and guys, if I missed it, please go ahead and repost the question. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so what happens if the system is hacked, and is participation mandatory or voluntary?
So I'll start off with the easy question. Participation is voluntary. That is a very easy question. Participation is voluntary. The more complex...
so participation in the digital ID is voluntary?
Voluntary. So not everyone... so first off, let's talk about eligibility at the end of the day.
Yes.
So if you are... obviously, we wanted to keep it in line with some of the existing legislation, especially around, even being able to apply for physical ID. So right now, the age limit is from 12 years and up that you can apply for physical ID. So we kept that same eligibility. So you would have to be 12 years and older to be able to apply for a digital ID.
Okay.
That being said, of course, even if you're a parent and you have a child that's under 12 years, obviously they won't have a digital ID, but you would still be able to apply for services on their behalf. And
as is the case right now.
As is the case right now. So that doesn't change anything from there. Then, as far as being able to voluntarily apply for digital ID, yes, that's the case. It's not a mandatory thing, but we want to, and we hope that it's something that is adopted from the island, that everyone starts to embrace more and more. And I think once you start to have this participation, in fact, with the different sectors, for example, utilities, GBE, Telem and Flow, the banking association, and the various banks on the island, that drives adoption at the end of the day. So if you're able to sign in with your digital ID, and it simplifies, the know your customer process, and you don't have to upload any documents or, apply for any documents that you still need to send to them and so forth. I think that's going to drive the adoption at the end of the day, and then you'll see a lot of people voluntarily applying for digital ID in the future. So we hope that once it's launched, of course, I'm letting everyone know that people are, quick to adopt it and make use of it as quickly as possible. The more complex question about the cybersecurity aspect. Of course, for me personally, cybersecurity is a huge priority. So as I mentioned, we're looking at legislation around cybersecurity. I mean,
I hope that it's a huge priority being the head of ICT for government.
It is one of the main priorities.
I hope that is something that you have your eye on.
One of the main priorities. In fact, when I mention things like being resilient, I think a lot of people automatically associate it with, hurricanes.
We still have PTSD, boo.
And where we are, and how we can be impacted and so forth from there. And that that term, that word has been heavily used because of Hurricane Irma, for example.
It's a trigger word for many of us.
But someone like myself, in the IT field, for as long as I've been, resilient also means how do you handle disasters like a cyber attack, like hacks. Or just when there's system failure, what happens if your data center, for example, goes up in flames or something like that. And these are things that has happened around the world.
Yep.
So
I.e., and I just want to put a pause here because I think when people hear that, they go like, yeah, that happens elsewhere. Y'all remember a couple of years back when WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook were all down for over 24 hours and the whole world couldn't get a message out, and the only way that they got a message out was through Twitter. Mm-hmm. So a message got out on Twitter, and that's how people knew that it was actually down, because Facebook uses its own Facebook platform internally for their employees. I happened to be in San Francisco when that was happening, and we couldn't get any messages in or out. It was nightmarish. So guys, it's not that it's something that is so removed from us. We're very dependent on all of these different tools that are global. They're not just in Sint Maarten. So yes, I wanted to put a pin there because some people go like, oh, they talk about big country stuff, but we use WhatsApp,
this happens.
We use Facebook.
Within the region, there's been enough examples of data centers, so where the servers are hosted and so forth.
Yep. We have Blue Nap Americas in the region, which is a top tier data center.
I think the only one in the region that's on that tier as well. And I mean, we've seen different islands, some of our own sister islands and so forth, that have experienced themselves. I mean, we've of course went through our own ransomware attacks, and everyone knows about the situation with government in the past, but also with GB and some of the other institutions have gone through their own challenges. But even something as simple as a fire in the data center and so forth, this has happened in some of these close islands as well. So when we speak about resilient, at least from IT field, we're not just talking about how protected or how equipped you are for a natural disaster. We're talking about any sort of disaster, and that goes beyond. So specifically when it comes to what happens if the system is hacked and so forth, the idea is to make sure that as much as possible that, of course, one, it's protected. So we don't want the system to be hacked. But in the event that happens and so forth, the idea is to make sure that as much as possible, personal information is not easily retrieved or easily out there in the atmosphere, and that there's no misuse when it comes to that type of thing. So we're looking at different approaches to that. Some countries link the digital ID with your local ID, for example, but instead of using the local ID when they do interaction with different businesses, let's say I'm going to log into my bank account with my digital ID, instead of using your local ID to do that communication, it uses what they call like a pseudo number at the end of the day. So in the event that the bank is hacked, or in the event that the digital ID system is hacked, it's not exposing your own local ID
your
number,
actual
unique number.
Yeah.
So certain things like that is particular strategies that we're trying to embrace actually, to make sure that we're securing the information as much as possible. But if there is an event that it's just not the wild, wild west at the end of the day.
So there's a question that came in. There's a couple of questions that came in.
1, 2.
Yeah, these people are hot, man. I appreciate you all. And for those of you that are also streaming with us on YouTube and on Facebook, thank you so much for being here. If you're in the Zoom room, there's a lot of stuff happening, and we're still getting started, and we've been talking for about 40 minutes already.
I told you there's not
enough
time.
You did tell me. You warned me in advance. You did. We'll have to do a part 2 at some point, and a 3, and possibly a 4.
Open up the can of worms.
Yes. So the question was about, would default paper-based system be retained to accommodate the demographics in society?
So that's a very good question.
I want
all the questions
to hear
are actually very good questions.
I want to hear your opinion on this for real, because I have my own thoughts on it.
Okay, so here's the thing, and there's two answers to that. The first answer is, it goes back to this whole thing about this data exchange that I was referring to before. Even though we're doing this digital transformation and we want to have people embrace using online services, for example, and applying for things online and using digital ID, et cetera, we're not going to eliminate the in-person interaction.
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
You know, some people, especially
you can minimize it, but you can't eliminate it.
You'll never eliminate
Yeah.
it. And especially knowing our culture, some people actually even use it for a social outing.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, so
Absolutely.
We will never eliminate it. But even by introducing this data exchange platform, for example, at the end of the day, you'll see that you won't have to now go from one desk to the next desk to the next desk. At the end of the day, you can literally just go to one place, apply for your services, and because everything is sharing data in the background, now we're not operating in silos, but we're actually collaborating and verifying information with each other. You will no longer have to go, for example, to get a detailed registration form to come back, to get this permit to come back. It'll just be going to one place, applying, and everything happening within that system from there. So you'll see improved process, improved efficiency just by this transformation. Even if you come in person, obviously if you're tech savvy, or not even tech savvy, but if you just have familiarity with making use of, digital services and so forth, you'll probably embrace that more. But even if you had to come in person, then, there is an improved process at the end of the day. However, I don't think you can also fully eliminate the paper-based model, so to say, not fully at least, because you also have to think about business continuity. And so what happens if all systems fail? We've seen situations before, and I can reference an example where in Las Vegas, one of their major hotels, their systems were compromised, and all systems were down, and the impact, we're talking about not being able to use your key card to get into the room, or not being able to charge things to the room because the systems are down.
Yeah.
So they had to now try to figure out, how do I operate my hotel, which is completely digital, completely cashless, in fact, in a environment where there is no systems.
You don't have to go too far. We recently, I think it was last year, had a situation, or the year before, where all the ATMs and the POSs were down.
Absolutely correct.
And boutique hotels, restaurants, car rentals could not do any kind of payment.
Yes.
So you went Las Vegas, but that was happening here.
No. So, I mean, the thing is, because we have to still figure out sort of this hybrid approach and so forth. So it's not necessarily about the demographics and how ready they are and so forth. Like I said, they can still apply for services in person. They can still interact with government in person, and other businesses in person as well. But it is more about, how do you handle business continuity when the systems are not available for a lengthy amount of time? We've had challenges before where internet services were down for an extended period of time, island-wide. We've, just came out of what we termed as, which was really a crisis with GB and the power grid.
Absolutely.
For some time, When there are no systems, how do you continue to function? And so that's where there's a little bit of this hybrid approach, where you still might need to make use of this paper-based environment and so forth to at least continue the business until systems are restored.
Yeah, there's some comment. Great that you're already thinking about the worst case scenario. That scenario was a clear infrastructure issue and not having enough redundancy. I'm even getting messages on WhatsApp saying, because it's coming in from everywhere. I love this talk. I'm tuning in via FB. And then we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to put all of your business out on public stuff, but definitely we're good. And then there's a question about the 2FA.
Two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication.
Yes.
Listen, guys, so I'm an innovator, right? But I'm more of a futurist. And within the Badejos, there are different levels to this thing. Okay. Mr. Badejo, Femi, and Yinka are both on the more technical side of the innovation.
She works for one of the biggest tech companies.
And I am more on I see vision and we go need the innovation to get it done, and pulling people together for it.
Pull it together.
So I'm the translator of the innovation, so to speak.
Yes.
So with that being said, can you translate what, even somebody's asking, okay, what does 2FA stand for?
Yeah.
Like, break it down, because I told you we have a very wide audience.
Yeah. So there's 2FA, which is two-factor authentication. A lot of people are already using it as it is right now. So that's you're something that you know, your password, and then something that you might receive or that you have and so forth. So you might get like a SMS, a one-time password, or
a code in your email,
or whatever the case is, to be able to log in. So that's
or a notification on your WhatsApp to verify.
Or you use there's quite a few authenticator apps, for example, that send you another notification or that asks you for your biometrics or something like that
as well.
to be able to continue the login process. So and then of course there's MFA is multi-factor authentication. It's pretty much the umbrella of it all. And so the idea behind of it is something something you have, and so forth.
Why is it important?
So it is critical from a cybersecurity perspective, of course, because it is quite easy, and over the years it's been seen quite a lot of times where people's accounts have been compromised quite easily, and so forth. There's things like password sprays and password algorithms and so forth, or whatever that can eventually determine what your password might be.
Yep.
So what has actually happened way in the past, or whatever the case is that before, you might have a password that's maybe like 6 or 7 characters, and that was allowed. And then over the years, they realized, no, that's easy to, determine what the password is. You do a password spray, and all of a sudden you figured out, oh, well, the password was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example.
And that's why, guys, it's very important to change your passwords on a regular basis.
Correct. But now what you'll see from a lot of companies and so forth is that if they are continuing to use passwords, because a lot of them are also trying to embrace MFA and using biometrics, where your biometrics is stored on your device.
Yep.
But if you do use a password, they're setting the limit, much higher. So instead of it being 7 characters or 8 characters, now we're talking about 12 or 14 characters, 16 characters, and so forth.
That's a whole sentence.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
So the MFA, or the two-factor authentication, however you want to look at it, basically allows you to have, your password, of course, that but then also something that you have, which could be a one-time password, which could be the authenticator app that sends you a code, or asks you for your biometrics. Your biometrics, of course, is something you have. And so that secures your account even more. Because even if your password gets compromised, then they would still need to receive this one-time password.
Yep.
Or this, you need to approve this request on your authenticator app, for example. And then only you have the authenticator app. Only you have your biometrics. Yep. So then your password might be compromised, but your account isn't compromised. Yep. And then it's easy to just reset the password and continue from there.
Okay. Hope that answers many of your questions. And then one last one before I start to wrap up. Is this method does this method eliminate ambiguity and allows for clear tracking? I'm thinking about the comment you made about that digital ID.
Yes.
We think this one not just automated tasks, but to document, fix, and contextualize in real time. Does that make sense to you?
I'm trying to.
So I think what they're concerned about is that the digital ID, however it's set up, including what you talked about, having an intermediary number that does not attach to your unique number. How does that work for clear tracking? And then does it document the fix and contextualize what is happening in real time?
Yeah. So I think one of the key things, for us as far as the transformation is concerned, is that we want to also increase transparency at the end of the day. And I think that's where that question comes from. Obviously the digital ID is one key building block at the end of the day to move towards digital transformation. So there's this sort of framework, it's called DPI, it's this digital public infrastructure, and it basically outlines this sort of checklist, these key pieces, components that needs to be in place in order for you to be really ready to do this digital transformation. So things like an online portal is one of them. Things like a digital ID is one of them. Things like data exchange platform is one of them. Digital signatures, digital payments, all of these things, infrastructure contribute. These are key components that you need to have in place in order to really go through digital transformation. A lot of these things or whatever we have in place, and they all contribute to this sort of transparency that you'll eventually see. Now, I think one thing that needs to be stated is there needs to be a clear decision when we talk about transparency and where things are at and so forth in the process. Because it's not enough to say, some people might, let me say, translate the transparency to say, well, we can give a status update, and the status update can literally go from, your application has been received, to your application is in progress, to your application has been approved, and that's it. Yeah, so that does introduce some level of transparency, because before you might not have known where it is, or that it's in progress, or whatever the case is. But I know what the pain point for a lot of people is really knowing where it is in the process, and even what the process kind of looks like. Because, as you mentioned before, depending on who you speak to, you might hear a different process, you might hear, different requirements, et cetera, and that lack of clarity, so speaking about the ambiguity at the end of the day, that's one of the things that we want to try to avoid. So the clear decision on how much information, how transparent you really want to be, do you want, which I'm hoping that we get very transparent, where people can actually see, okay, it has now been moved to this next step.
Yes.
So aside from it's been received to it's in progress, no, it's actually being reviewed.
Yeah, like a domino tracker.
Yes. Yes, that's actually a great example. Yes.
Like a domino tracker.
It's in the oven.
It's in the oven.
It's going through the final check.
It's going up.
It's out for delivery. Yeah. So
it's out for delivery. It might take 40 minutes to get to you,
it
but
might still take some time to get you at the end of the day. But
at least you tracked it.
Yeah, and you see an estimated time as well.
You see an estimated time, so if you have to wait an hour, it's an hour you have
Absolutely
to wait.
Correct.
Yes.
So the idea is that with all these different components, once they're in place and so forth, that we will eventually be able to showcase that transparency. People would also be able to see, for themselves how long it should take versus how long it did really take for the process and so forth. And we're also trying to introduce, certain things like how to really provide feedback to the organization so that we could also make certain improvements at the end of the day.
I think what is critical, what you said there, I think we underestimate how much of a pain point that is understanding the process.
Yes.
Because of the variability of what you get no matter where you are at. Earlier on today, I called you, we spoke about a particular situation. I went to one source, couldn't find it. They told me, hold on. The other source didn't pick up the phone. I Googled it. I chat GPT'd it. Couldn't figure it out.
And now it's chat GPT.
Couldn't figure it out. And it was only because I got a phone call. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Thank you so much. Can you please explain to me this particular process? And they walked me through it step by step. But if I did not get that phone call, which I was not expecting to get, there would be no way for me to verify even what the overall process is. So when we're going through these different things, making sure that the process is clear and standard is really important, and that the public is absolutely informed about what those different steps are, so that there's no confusion at the end of the day.
So just quickly to touch on that, there's a few things that we've been trying to work on as well. One is a service catalog that really clearly identifies and outlines all the different services and the requirements and the different steps and so forth. So that's a work in progress as well. But then one thing I wanted to highlight is the fact that, this program that we're doing has an end date. It's a project, it's a program. It's going to come to an end at a particular point in time.
When is the end?
That is Q2 of 2027, so roughly going into April, May of 2027.
So are we going to be fully digital transformed?
So we're not going to be fully digital. Not all services will be fully digital, but we will have some use cases, some proof of concept in place, actually, to showcase what it can eventually look like for all services. And then we have to outline sort of this roadmap of being able to digitalize further services moving forward. But I say that to say that it does come to an end in 2027, but that doesn't mean that the transformation ends.
Yes.
And the transformation, it is transformation. And it means continuous improvement. So as technology continues to improve and as processes continue to improve, the transformation also has to continue to improve with it. And so this is sort of the foundation that we're trying to lay out and so forth. We spoke just briefly earlier about AI and how ready are we going to be for that as well.
We still have to do a little bit more on that AI conversation.
I know. But at the end of the day, as you start to continue to improve and start to transform, your organization and your processes, and have these processes well documented, for example, and well communicated to the public, et cetera, then you could really start to embrace how AI can help contribute to increasing the efficiency, reducing some of the administrative burden, and so forth, with those things in place.
I'm so happy you said that, because actually for the past about an hour already that we've been talking, you've covered what I call the 5A AI transformation framework, right? The first step is to assess where you are at, understand
the maturity level.
What is your maturity level, but also what tools, if you're a small business or an executive, what tools are you using? How do they work? Are you optimizing the tools that you're using? A lot of people use WhatsApp, they're not optimizing it. A lot of people use their emails, not optimizing it. So are you using it in an optimum perspective? And those tools more than likely have AI built into it, because all tools have AI.
It is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes, it's inevitable.
It is like air. It is everywhere. Then making sure that you are in alignment with your strategy, with your leadership. Do you have a point person, even if that person is you? And so I'm kind of slipping this in here because we do have a limited time that's happening, and I'm not sure why we're having some challenges with Zoom, but we are, hold on one second, guys. Let me see if I can fix this on the back end. Because I think there was a challenge here. So let's do this to this. Got it. Are we still in the room? Yes, we're still in the room. Okay, good. So then we're looking at alignment. So the first step is to assess, then you have to align. The other step is to architect, and that is making sure that you are designing how you want this to look for your particular use case.
Now you're talking my language.
I know, right? The fourth A, aren't you proud?
Yeah,
the fourth A is to activate. What are you going to launch? And do you have something that's measurable that you're going to measure it by? I have done that. I've just been piloting and activating because AI to me is also fun. So I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and vibe code here. Let me create this app. Let me go ahead and play around with this. Let me test this automation. Let me do that. And so I've been activating, but not necessarily looking at, and I think all of us have been doing that because the past 2-3 years has been just amazing when it comes to AI tools and accessibility of tools. And so not necessarily being intentional about, is this going to get me some kind of ROI, right? Because if you're going to invest even your time, forget money, but if you're going to invest your time, you need to get a return on your investment of time, okay? And then the last one, which is what Femi's talking about as well, is the continuity of it. How are you advancing? What are you going to scale that works? What are you going to sunset? What are you going to build? And how are you going to lead in this AI-driven world?
Yeah, and that's, sorry, but that's also a very key thing because a lot of people, when they go through their own transformation, you know, whether it's within their business or organization that they work for, et cetera, they tend to think that, okay, once I achieve this, then it's done.
Yep. Never.
It's a continuous process. You know
it's called lifelong learning.
Yes, very much so. So, you know, like I mentioned before, it's a continuous improvement. You're constantly looking at, okay, what else can I do to, you know, make things easier, make things more efficient, simplify, etc. For customers, for my administration, etc.
The tools change, the people change, the culture change, the laws change.
And all these things are factors.
And all of those things are factors in a national digital transformation project, which I can't see enough how proud I am of you for all of the hard work that you have been doing. We've seen some of it on the back end, and sometimes we raise our brows like, what is happening? But it's not a small feat, and so we're really appreciative of the hard work. Of course, there's a conversation in the chat about making sure that there's an allocation of sufficient maintenance budget, but you need sufficient budget across the board.
We're keeping track of that as well.
And I'm sure that you have an extensive budget with line items.
We are definitely keeping track of that as well.
To ensure continuity, stability, and sustained quality of service, right?
And I mean, one thing is, of course, the budget. But I generalize it with the resources in general. That could also be human resources as well. So, you know, obviously I've been leading strategically the program and, you know, this transformation within government, not just from the program, from the whole of government, because this is a whole of government approach. But I do have a team that's been working with me to make sure that this is pushed in the right direction. It's a collective effort at the end of the day, not just from my team, but these different stakeholders that, you know, are now really working together to try to see this transformation come to light.
Okay, so we are winding down, and there's also big up to Femi's team. Yes, he's not doing it alone. He has an extensive team that work night and day.
Actually, that works.
They work night and day.
They work night and day as well. I tried to tell them not to, but they're pushing it.
I'm spotlighting Femi, but honestly, he has.
When I'm up 3-4 in the morning, they're up 3-4 in the morning working. So that's definitely big up to my team.
Okay, so with a few minutes left, and for those of you in the Zoom, I'm going to restart this if this disconnects. I'm not sure why it's happening because, but technology can be your friend or your frenemy. And so today, you know, it's rainy outside. Maybe that has something to do with it. Yes. I don't understand what's happening.
Let's just chalk it up to the weather.
We'll chalk it up to the weather. But the question that I do have for you now, I started out with, okay, are we ready for AI? And you said from a national perspective, specifically from a government infrastructure perspective, the answer is no. But with AI being accessible to everyone, the small man and all of that, right? What are some opportunities are you seeing for AI for islands? What are some opportunities that you are seeing with AI in the way that you see that AI can be beneficial to the public at large as well? So one is, how do you see AI for the individual business, and then the other one is more on a national level?
Yeah, so I'll start off actually with a national level, then I'll transition. I mean, obviously in the islands and so forth, Sint Maarten is not unique to having capacity constraints, to having resource constraints at the end of the day. And so leveraging AI to help pretty much complement that sort of constraint that you have, I think is one of the big benefits at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
I just talked about my team, and my team is, it is a small team, and we're working diligently on this program and other projects and so forth, at the same time. But to complement that, and we talked earlier about, for example, cybersecurity. You mentioned things like deep fake and so forth. At the end of the day, leveraging AI to also combat those things. So while some cyber criminals are using AI maliciously to try to structure their attacks in a particular way, a lot of companies and so forth, big companies like Microsoft and so forth, are using AI to actually try to combat those same things. So, and that's where the complement comes in, because we don't have things like a national cybersecurity response team in place, not yet at least, and so forth. But in the absence of that, can you make use of AI to complement the limited resources that you might have? And I think that is an opportunity. Actually, I mentioned it from the national perspective, but as well as businesses alike. Businesses also have challenges as far as resources, and human capacity and so forth.
That is the problem of everybody.
At the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. We all face the same challenges. So, I started off earlier mentioning that the right use of AI and to as an enabler to improve efficiency and so forth. But it's also to kind of bridge that gap. To kind of really close that gap in as far as how much capacity do you have to be able to absorb some of the things that you're doing, and how much of that can be complemented by AI to alleviate the need for that additional capacity and so forth, and drive productivity at the end of the day. So there are a lot of opportunities. I think one of the key things that you mentioned when you were listing out the 5 A's and so forth was really being sort of intentional about the use cases, like what are you trying to use it for and so forth. And I mean, obviously, AI is replacing Google at this point in time. So people use it for searches and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more functionality, a lot more capabilities. And I mentioned earlier about using it for productivity. At the end of the day, if you can reduce the amount of time it takes for you to draft an email or write up a document and that kind of stuff, whatever, just leveraging AI, then that simplifies the whole process for you. You've gained some time back, and now you can be more productive in other areas.
Okay, so I think that this is a very good way to end this particular period. And so I would like to thank all of you for joining us for Innovate 2026. We have none other than Mr. Fabian, hear me, Mr. Fabian Badejo.
That's exactly why I used the first name. That is exactly why I used the first name.
Why did I call him that? Are we still on? I think we just got off for a quick second. Let me just wrap this up. I think we are still here. So guys, if for whatever reason, like I said, we've been having some challenges with Zoom, I think they may have made some edits recently. So sometimes they let you know, sometimes they don't. But thank you so much for being a part of this discussion, whether you have been streaming from YouTube, from Facebook, or in the Zoom room. We are going to go ahead and continue for a couple of minutes with Q&A only for the Zoom audience. But thank you so much for being here, all of you, from wherever you're streaming in from the world. If you found this very valuable, go ahead and like, share, comment, let us know. We are already getting requests for people to do this again, to be on this. So I think we just launched Innovate conversation.
Yeah, well.
With Ife, right here at Focus Forward on Sint Maarten in Phillipsburg. Really and truly. And the reason why I say that is because we have the talent right here. And this is what Islandpreneur is about. Femi is from Sint Maarten, born and raised, contributing to the digital transformation, but is also a leader in the space where countries around the world are seeking his insights on how to do digital transformation for very nuanced circumstances and environments. And we are right here in Focus Forward Studios, where we have an amazing setup giving you high quality conversations and media quality. So I just wanted to let you all know this as well, because oftentimes we go external thinking that external is always better. External is different. We are as equal. Okay? External is different, and I love the variety of different, but let's not make that the narrative in 2026. Let's go ahead and double down and showcase those that are doing well and that are as equal as, and therefore that's why we have Femi here, that's why we're at Focus Forward Studios. If one of you wants to create your own Zoom for the islands, go ahead and do it. With AI right now, you can create whatever you want in record time, okay? That being said, and thank you all for those of you that have been staying with us. You've joined on again. I think this is the second time, so I appreciate your capacity and your diligence and your resilience and commitment to this conversation. That being said, we're closing off the YouTube. We'll see you soon, and also Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining in. And I'm going to go ahead and just focus in the room on Zoom. So for those of you that are with us,